Hello, my name is Destiny Franco, and I will be doing my presentation on should schools change start times based on teen sleep needs and habits. In recent years and years to come, the discussion regarding teen sleep has been a hot topic as adolescents grow through their sleep patterns, undergoing profound changes aligning with late bedtimes and early school start times, all of which contribute to the overall well-being of teens. This discussion has brought into light the solution of implementing later school start times. According to the U.S. Department of Education statistics for 2011 through 2012, approximately 43% of over 18,000 public schools in the United States currently have a start time before 8 a.m. Teens need about 8 to 10 hours of sleep a night. Polls have suggested that 60% of middle schoolers and 70% of high schoolers report inadequate sleep on school nights. Sleep has a mental and physical toll on teens. Loss of sleep in adolescence results in sleep deprivation. Because of this, many teens have impairments in mood, attention, memory, quality of life, and executive function. A couple of impacts because of this would be increased risk of anxiety, depression, and emotional dysregulation, as well as increased obesity risk, hypertension, and lower levels of activity, all of which are very important. For example, without attention, teens have no way of learning new material in school, resulting in the lack of academic success. Some factors to take into consideration when talking about academic toll on teens would be impairments in attention and memory, lower academic achievement, poor school attendance, and increased dropout rates. If schools were to implement better school start times, it would lead to better sleep habits for students. This would not only benefit their physical, mental, and emotional health, but also improve academic success. There are many biological changes in teens that cause insufficient sleep. While Storm mentions that as children grow, they go through two sleep processes called circadian rhythm and homeostasis. It has been shown that the pressure to fall asleep tends to become lower as a child enters adolescence. This, in combination with the natural phase delay in the circadian rhythm, can help to explain why sleeping patterns change with puberty. A couple of tips to maintain a healthy sleep/wake cycle would be to build a consistent sleep schedule, as well as avoiding electronics in bed, before sleep, and maybe even after sleep. Avoid caffeine, keeping naps short, and exercising. I will now present a video talking about the debate over school start times.
Yeah, that friend. Curious what your chronotype is, but don't have the time or money to submit your DNA for a genetic analysis? Not a problem. You can figure this out by measuring the midpoint of your sleep when you don't have to set an alarm to wake you up. If you naturally fall asleep at midnight and wake up at 8, then you have a chronotype of 4 a.m. Your chronotype isn't set in stone for life though. It actually shifts as you age. The biggest change happens to teenagers. When puberty hits, the master clock experiences a phase shift. Chronotypes slowly get later and later, and by 18, the average chronotype is around 4:30 a.m. So getting enough sleep the night before an early class probably ain't gonna happen. Teenagers are wired to sleep in. Because of this research, organizations like the CDC, the American Medical Association, and the American Academy of Pediatrics all want school to start later than 8:30 a.m. In a 3-year study of over 9,000 students from different high schools across multiple states, the percentage of students sleeping at least 8 hours per night was twice as high in late start schools than in early start schools. Some studies have also shown that delayed start times are associated with better grades and improved test scores, but the evidence for that is inconsistent. Still, with some pretty solid evidence on the side of delaying school start times, why do 4 out of 5 public schools in the US start before 8:30 a.m.? One reason? Work. Parents have to get their kids to school before their workday starts at 9, and a later start time means school ends later, meaning even more disruption to daily schedules. Some teachers are against it too. In one county in Maryland, for example, 12,000 teachers voted almost 2-to-1 against any sort of delay. And 65% of them believe that shifting the school schedules would be too disruptive. But the biggest roadblock to starting school later might be sports. We take our school sports pretty seriously here in the US, which is fine, but I'm still trying to get more schools to adopt my favorite after-school activity, beekeeping. I mean, we gotta save the bees, people. No bees, no us. There's no us without bees. Anyway, in school board meetings, it's not uncommon for parents to say that delaying school start times will kill school sports by messing with game schedules. But there's really not any research to back up those claims. Now, are you catching on to the theme here? People just don't want to change the way they're doing things, even when science says that they probably should. So what do you think?
Alright, so now that the video has finished playing, I would suggest looking over the video on your own time, as it is much longer, but I was only able to provide a 2-minute snippet of it. Moving on, I would like to talk about schools that have already began to implement this school start time change. One school being St. Louis High School, whose original school start time was at 7:50 a.m. till 2:40 p.m. and is now implemented to be starting at 8:20 a.m. to 8:20 a.m. till 3:10 p.m. Another high school would be Woodbury High School, whose original school start time was at 7:35 a.m. and is now 8:35 a.m. So that one has a 60-minute difference, which is much different from St. Louis High School. Another school that I want to focus on is Boulder High School, which their school start time is much different from the last two that I talked about. Their original school start time was at 7:30 a.m., but they decided to implement a 30-minute change every day except for Wednesday, which is a 1.5-hour change. So on Monday through Tuesday, school begins from 8 p.m. And then on Wednesday, school begins at 9 p.m. And then we see the change again on Thursday from 8 p.m. till 3:30, and then on Fridays from 8 till 4:30 p.m. It's a modified block schedule, which is much different from the last two. After having gone through all of these slides, we should take a look at some solutions for all contributors in teen sleeping habits, some of which I have already mentioned in slide 5. I would say for teachers and educators, they can definitely advocate for students, and in doing so, they can advocate, obviously, for later school start times. Teachers, like athletic coaches for extracurricular activities, can influence their students to have better time management, especially if schools are going to start at a later time. And teachers can also be more cautious about homework and how it affects sleeping schedules. And then for parents can create a better sleeping schedule for their children, and also create no disruptions to the child's sleep. That can be by taking away their phone at night, or creating a quiet space at night. For students, like mentioned in slide 5, less screen time before bed is very important. Elimination of caffeine, consistent sleeping schedule, and overall time management. However, there are negative repercussions of later school start times. Though it's important to change school start times because of qualifying factors, there are also negative repercussions that come with it. Delayed school start times would result in later classes, clashing with extracurricular activities like football, baseball, swimming, that go based on school schedules. If this then happens, students with jobs would also have less time to work, clashing with income that may be needed to help their families. A lot of students do have after school jobs. Either one of these, whether it's extracurricular activities or having a job after school, would lead to later start time on homework. So students would push back their homework because they have other things to do. And since they're starting their homework much later, they would sacrifice sleep for it, to substitute for it. This would then result in a chain reaction, which I believe is why many schools are not willing to change school start times. And also, as mentioned in slide 6, it is one of the main reasons why a lot of parents and a lot of educators advocate to not change school start times. The chart below shows participation of out-of-school activities and research done by Wallstorm, which I mentioned in slide 5. So, yes. To conclude, it is up to each person's opinion on their stance in this discussion. There is evidently positive and negative contributing factors to later school start times. After having presented my slides, I leave a rendering question that I presented in the beginning, which is, do you think schools should have later start times for sleep needs and habits?